الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيبنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. Yesterday we were discussing briefly the hadith of Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam, in which with the view of understanding from it the totality of religion, totality of deen, and which was identified as Islam, Iman and Ihsan as three different distinct concepts and ideas. And normally these things are understood as a hierarchy. So we understand that Islam comes first, and then when you build on your Islam, Iman develops, and then you build on your Iman, Ihsan develops. So you become, your Iman shows in your excellence in your actions. But actually the relationship between them is more like a circle. So you start with Shahada, of course, and which is part of Islam, and then you engage in acts of faith or acts of worship, the 5 pillars, and not just the 5 pillars but other acts also. And through that you they are a means of strengthening the Iman, the faith. And the particular meaning of Iman that this hadith, that we understand from this hadith or in this context, is that Iman is the internalization of faith. That we internalize the faith, all aspects of faith, belief in Allah. What does believe in Allah mean? Who is Allah? So we internalize it and constantly work on it in order to make sure that our belief is not simply a rational, intellectual position that we've taken, that okay, we believe in Allah, it simply means that I believe in the existence of God. That is not Iman. That comes at the level of Shahada. That is where you become Muslim, that we believe in the existence of God. And this is the problem nowadays, that almost the entire debate is focused on the question of existence of God, and so trying to prove the existence of God. Quran doesn't do that. Quran does not focus at all on the question of existence of God, because what God means to somebody who denies His existence is completely different to what God means to somebody who is affirming it. It's a problem of language. In the last century, much has been done on the philosophy of language, and it's now generally agreed upon that when two people speak, they are not necessarily speaking about the same thing. Wittgenstein he developed the idea of language game. It's like a game, and the rules you have for game. So your mental horizon is limited by your linguistic ability, and what you think is actually what you speak. So a person who is talking about, two people are talking about God, they are talking about two entirely different things, defined entirely different entities. And hence, Quran doesn't focus at all on the question of proving the existence of God. The only ones where we get a semblance of this argument is in the ayah, or in the statement, "Afillahi shak," can there be doubt about God? Afillahi shakkun fatir as-samawati. There can be no doubt about God. What Quran focuses on is actually explaining and defining and elaborating on what God actually means, on Tawheed, on the sifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is a huge emphasis in the Quran on sifat. In fact, the Quran doesn't make a distinction, the sifat and the distinction between being and attributes. This is all from a philosophical origin. So the distinction that we have between Zat and Sifat, it all comes from outside Islam. In Islam is al-asma'ul husna. قُلِ ادْعُوا اللَّهَ أَوِ ادْعُوا الرَّحْمَنَ. You call him by Allah, or you call him by Ar-Rahman. أَيِّمَّا تَدْعُوا, whatever you wish to call God upon with, فَلَهُ الْأَسْمَاءُ الْحُسْنَى. All the good names belong to Him. So we have the idea of good names, beautiful names in Islam. And so what I was saying was the question of existence of God, it's settled at the level of Shahada, at the very earliest phase, at the very earliest level. Iman is beyond that. Iman is now internalizing this belief as something as an existential reality. So believing in God doesn't simply mean believing in the existence of God, that I believe that the argument for the existence of God is greater than the argument for His non-existence. That is not Iman. That is Shahada. That is Islam. That is at the first stage. We begin from there. Internalization of Iman means making sure that everything that we believe in it as a truer reality as we see the physical world. So as we see this room and as we believe this room exists, we must believe that God also exists. We must believe in the power and authority and supremacy and sovereignty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then not just Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and all the articles of faith. We believe in the angels. Everything that has been reported to us about angels. Yesterday we gave the example that angels at the moment are gathering this entire, surrounding this entire gathering all the way up to the heavens. We must believe in that as if it were real, because it is real. And simply removing mental objections from it is not the same as believing in it. So this is the meaning of Iman. And Ihsan is what when we internalize this the articles of faith or our belief, then it reflects in our behavior, in our actions, and that is the meaning of Ihsan, excellence in everything we do. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said, is reported to have said in a hadith, Inna Allah kataba al-ihsan ala kulli shay. Allah has prescribed ihsan and excellence in everything we do. Nothing that we do should be short of excellence. Now, so these things they work in a circle. So our iman feeds our ihsan, and ihsan then feeds the quality of our Islam, quality of our worship, quality of our salah, our fast, our hajj is all enhanced by the level of ihsan, and then the cycle goes on. And so it's a continuous process. When we talk of taqwa, we say we achieve taqwa. Taqwa is not something to achieve. We achieved taqwa when we accepted Islam, when we came into Islam. Now it's about enhancing it and constantly developing it and constantly making sure that we never stop the cycle, we never let it just be, because when we stop, it just starts going backwards. Now, if you understand this, these things, and this is the entirety of our deen. Now this applies as in theory to the entire deen, and then it also applies to each of our acts of worship, each act of ibadah. This whole process applies. A beautiful example of that, it's applying to salah, which is one of the most important aspect of deen, worship and prayer. The example for that, an example for that is discussed in Surah Al-Ma'un, which is immensely profound. This Surah Al-Ma'un begins by chastising someone, a person not believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forsaking their duties as human beings, for forsaking their humanitarian duties. أَرَأَيْتَ الَّذِي يُكَذِّبُ بِالدِّينِ فَذَلِكَ الَّذِي يَدُعُّ الْيَتِيمَ وَلَا يَحُضُّ عَلَى طَعَامِ الْمِسْكِينِ. Have you not seen a person who rejects or belies deen and religion and faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Because that is a person you see who also fends off the yatim, the orphan, without instead of helping an orphan, he just discards them, abandons their right, fulfilling their right. وَلَا يَحُضُّ عَلَى طَعَامِ الْمِسْكِينِ, and is not incited, is not very excited about feeding the miskin, the poor person. Now, the question arises that many people are not Muslims, not believers even. They don't even believe in the concept of deity, and yet they are very good at humanitarian work. So this ayah is not talking about that. This ayah is setting of course, it is talking about those people who have not given significant thought to their own conscience. They are living in a stupor as such, in a craze that everything matters is themselves, in an extremely narcissistic manner. So this ayah is definitely talking about them, but it's also setting the background to something that comes next. And what follows after this is فَوَيْلٌ لِلْمُصَلِّينَ. Immediately the transfer is made from this person, or the connection is made from this person, such a person, to the person who prays salah. فَوَيْلٌ, and Allah says, woe be to those who pray. That is, it's a completely it's a shocking kind of move from such a person who doesn't believe in deen at all to condemning those people who pray salah. فَوَيْلٌ لِلْمُصَلِّينَ. Wail means it's a word of condemnation, which is roughly translated as woe be to those who pray. Not all those who pray, but some of the people who pray, and they are described later. And the next three verses are relevant to what we have been discussing about Islam, Iman, and Ihsan, because the people who those who pray and yet are condemned are then described as الَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنْ صَلَاتِهِمْ سَاهُونَ. Those who are negligent of their prayer. So they do offer their prayer, but their prayer does not meet the criteria of Islam. I.e., they are negligent, so they will wait for they find it a burden to make the salah, to offer the prayer on time. So they will sit around, wait around, let the time pass, and not wait for the time to enter so that they can stand in front of their Lord and pray to Him. But they will ignore the time, and only in the last few minutes they will very heavy-heartedly, without intending, they will stand up and they will just quickly fulfill the rites of prayer, the acts of prayer. This is not acceptable in the eyes of Allah. We spoke about this yesterday. Why it isn't? So this sahwa in salah, this negligence in salah, is something which shows the defect of Islam. A person has not submitted completely to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala yet, in order to so that he or she can find solace, peace in prayer, like Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to do. So Islam, as we said yesterday, was initially about the form, about the external aspect. So this person, the external aspect of his salah has not been perfected, has not been thought about, has not been improved or enhanced, and hence he or she is deficient in their Islam. Then next ayah is الَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنْ صَلَاتِهِمْ سَاهُونَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ يُرَاءُونَ. They even when they pray their salah or in their general acts of worship, their sole intention or a motivation for them is that they can at least show off. So they like to make a pretense. So what instigates them towards praying is the love for making a pretense. So to show off that, okay, we are religious people, we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so basically, because they haven't internalized Iman, they haven't internalized the reality of faith, they have not been able to understand or bring into fruition the idea of the entire idea of faith, which is to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because salah is something that you are making for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is nonsensical to make it for somebody else. It's as though you are worshipping someone else. And that is why shirk, riya, has been mentioned as shirk. That to do those things which must exclusively be done for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for anybody other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is effectively creating partnership in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, making partners for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is, although we call it ostentation and riya, but it's actually shirk. So this الَّذِينَ هُمْ يُرَاءُونَ, they do riya, they show off. Why? Because their iman is weak. They haven't worked on their iman, they haven't strengthened their iman. Because if iman was strengthened and a person understood the reality of iman and internalized the meaning of iman, and hence would realize that there is a reality, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching over me all the time, and everything I do is being recorded, and the value in my action comes by the value of my faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then there would not be a question of riyā. You would not pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to please someone else. You just irrationality of it would be immediately apparent to us. And then finally, because they have the iman is weak, the Islam is defective, ihsan doesn't bring, this salah does not lead to ihsan, this prayer does not lead to ihsan. And when we don't have ihsan out of prayer, we do things like وَيَمْنَعُونَ الْمَاعُونَ, denying people petty things. So we become immensely stingy, immensely self-centered, suffering from intense levels of self-conceit. And as a result of that, we will deny even neighborly assistance, even minor things, paltry things. If somebody needs them, can I borrow a pen? No, of course you can't. Why can't you get your own? Okay, so this is just one example, and this is because our salah has not led us to ihsan. Our salah has not been strong enough to produce the level of iman. And here there is a huge connection between. So this is just one effect of salah, of salah not leading to ihsan. Means one of the things that they do is they are miserly even with the smallest of possessions. If someone needs a glass of water, they're not happy to give it to them, and things like that. But this is just one effect. This is not this does not mean that when our salah becomes perfect. It doesn't mean that if we give someone necessary assistance, our salah is perfect. It doesn't mean that. It simply means that the absence of perfection in salah leads to this kind of behavior. It doesn't show in the perfection of a person's behavior. Another thing is the Quran says, "Inna salata tanha 'anil fahsha'i wal munkar." Salah has the power and capacity to stop people from all sorts of vulgarities and all sorts of evil. And if our salah isn't doing that, it means that we need to work on our salah. Our salah has either lacks in the quality of Islam, or in the quality of its iman, or in the quality of ihsan, and hence it's not producing results. But another thing that comes up in this connection is, and I'll try to briefly mention this. I was thinking of speaking of this in some detail yesterday, but tomorrow, but it's unlikely I might be able to come tomorrow. This connection between salah and ma'un, that praying salah properly and doing good deeds, and being human by sharing your belongings, sharing your possessions, sharing your time, sharing your everything that you have with others. So there is a huge connection between this, because in the Quran we have وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ often comes with وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ. يُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ comes often with يُؤْتُونَ الزَّكَاةَ. That the connection between salah and zakah is immense. Out of the 20 about 29 or 30 times that zakah has come in, the word zakat comes in the Quran, 28 times it's come in connection with salah, connected with salah. So those people who establish, because here again there is an important point. It is not just about praying salah. Yuqimuna salah means those who establish prayer. What is establishing of prayer? Establishing a prayer, obviously there is much more can be said about this, but establishing prayer means that prayer should be the foundation of our life. That everything must revolve around prayer, and everything that we do, our life as we live, must be influenced by prayer. And on the external aspect, establishing of prayer means that prayer has to be established in its proper place in the masjid. So a construction of masajid is part of establishing of prayer. People should gather together in congregation and pray together. This is also part of establishing prayer. So it's an institution. It has an institutional element. And so does zakah. Zakah is not something that we give in charity for poverty relief. No, zakah is much more than that. We think of zakah as giving alms or giving in charity. And how can charity be compulsory? Well, because zakah is not simply giving in charity. You see, when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam migrated to Medina from Mecca, the first two things that he did. The first thing he did, in fact, was fraternization between the Muhajirin and Ansar, creating a brotherhood or a bond of brotherhood between the immigrants and the helpers, the people who had migrated from Mecca to Medina and people who were resident in Medina. To create and he created brotherhood between them so that they could mutually assist each other. This is the foundation of zakat. This is where zakat comes from and starts from. And the second thing that he did was establish a masjid, and this is where establishing salah comes from. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's first two actions when he moved to Medina were simply yuqimuna as-salata wa yu'tuna az-zakat. And if you understand this way, then zakat actually means not poverty relief. The higher objective of zakat is not simply poverty relief. It is to ensure the social mobility of the weaker elements in society. It is to ensure that everybody has or is able to have a quality of life that is good enough. And hence, when you look at the people who are the recipients of zakat, they are not just poor people. Only out of the 8 categories, 8 eligible recipients of zakat, only 2 are mentioned who are directly relevant to poverty and poor. Fuqara and Masakin. But rest 6 categories, they are those people who are on the verge of, for one reason or another, they can be above the poverty line and then actively contributing to society, or they, if they are neglected, then they will fall beyond there and they will not be able to, they will become a burden on society as such. And so zakat is to be given to them. People who are traveling and have lost their possession. They may be millionaires at home. But they don't have anything now. If we help them now, they can go back and they can contribute to society. So zakat is to be given to them. People who are